Okay, so we have our letters cut out now, and I've also got all my strips cut out, and I might have more or less than I think I need, but I just kind of estimated, okay? So the next step is to start to figure out your walls and the placement of the walls and how they're gonna work. When we work with clay, we would do each of these totally separate. We would put a piece here, a piece here, a separate piece there, and that's so that our corners can look really nice and clean and be joined together well. Clay doesn't bend as well as cardboard does. So you've kind of got a couple choices, and you're gonna have to figure out what works best for you. In certain places, you might be able to, and what we're doing, by the way, is you are gonna put the strips, the sidewalls, on top of your bottom piece. Okay, so I'm going to take one of my M's and I'm going to use it as like the base. It's really the back of my sculpture. And then I'm going to work flat as I build the side walls, what will be the sides of my sculpture, up. So I'm going to leave this flat. I'm going to take a strip, and I just, without even attaching anything, I just want to start to get my strips sort of made and cut at the right lengths. So you have some choices here. I could try to put a strip on top. We're always working on top of the piece that's on the table. Don't put your, do not put your cardboard on the outside around it. You're actually building on top of it. And the reason is if we build on top, then when I get my next piece, it'll fit. If I build around it, this piece, when I go to put it on, is gonna kind of have to fit inside, and it'll be a lot harder to attach. So when we build with clay slabs or cardboard slabs, you wanna make sure that you're putting your sidewalls on top of the piece below. Very common mistake, and you don't wanna make it. So I have a choice. I could measure with a ruler. I could measure how long from here to here is to my corner. And it's about, 2, and you got to know your measurements, right? Or you could just say, okay, it's 2 and 1 little mark. And then over here, I'd have to take my strip, and I would have to make 2, 1 little mark, and I would do it again, 2, 1 little mark, and then I would draw a line connecting those dots. And I know that this piece is now going to be my sidewall. Right? So I can do it segment by segment by segment. And that's probably the best way to do it with clay for sure. Now, when we work with cardboard, it bends pretty easy. So if it's possible for me to create a wall here and just be able to bend it, and I'll turn it this way so you can see, bend it to match the shape, that's great. But you've got to get that bend in the right place. So a trick to bending cardboard and making it look kind of clean, a trick is to score it. And so what I might do is, instead of cutting all the way through on that line, what I might do instead is I might cut just through the top layer of the cardboard. So this will work with an X-Acto knife for sure. I'm going to try it just with my scissors in the kit. But if I do a score mark where I'm only trying to cut through, notice I open up my scissors and I'm carefully scoring it. And what I'm doing is I'm only cutting through that top layer. Now my cardboard bends really easily, and it's a much cleaner bend. So that's a good trick when you're working with cardboard, is to score it. So now when I place this on my letter here, I can see that it's going to bend a little bit easier right where I want it to at that corner. All right, so your next task is to start to build these walls, and you can do it but piece by piece. And what I'm saying is cut out a piece for each one, right? Or can you start to work your way around with your strips in a way that will help you? Now, if I'm going to bend this direction, think about it. Which side am I going to score? I'm going to score this part. So you always bend on the outs, or you score on the outside of your bend, right? So I would have to either see where that's bending, folding. I could mark it a little. Then I would take my ruler, and I don't have to cut on anything because I'm not cutting through. And I'm just going to score it. And I'll show you with the X-Acto knife. It's a little easier. but you just got to go careful. Don't go all the way through. And now I've got this nice clean bend in my cardboard. So it's going to be up to you and your letter to determine if bending and scoring and folding is the method you want to kind of take, or is it best for you to actually cut each segment out, and then I would have little chunks that I'm putting on 1, 2, 3 at a time. Okay, so you figure that out, and that's how you do straight walls. Straight walls meaning they don't have any sort of curve to it. That's how you would do a straight wall, and you'd figure those out. Now, the curved walls are pretty much the same, except how do we make something like cardboard that is stiff? How do we make that bend smooth into a curve? There's a couple tricks we can do with cardboard to help it out. When we're working with clay, it's easy. As long as our clay is wet, it'll curve really nicely, but cardboard's a little bit harder. So there's a couple things we can do. The first thing you can do is loosen up your cardboard on the edge of a table. So if I take this and I run it like this, and what I'm doing is kind of loosening it up, and so it's kind of getting it a little bit more bendy, a little more curvy. That's pretty cool, right? But it's still not very smooth curve. So the other thing we can do is that scoring idea. We can score, and you always want to think about scoring on the outside of the curve, whatever becomes the outside of the curve. What do I mean by that? That might be confusing because you're like, the outside of this curve is the top of the rainbow, right? So I want to think about where's the top of the rainbow, and that's the part that I'm going to score. So again, I'm not going to cut through all the way, but what I'm going to do, and you can choose to use a ruler and make it look pretty nice. I would, because I think everything, craftsmanship, everything matters. Every little step matters. I'm going to score in a few places, quite a few places. And I'm going to do that either with my scissors or with my X-Acto knife if I have one. I'm not cutting all the way through. Not cutting all the way through at all. And I would do a bunch of these little score marks as straight up and down as you can. So follow the ribs. I'm following the ribs of the cardboard. And what this allows for is it's going to allow your cardboard to become a smoother curve. You're releasing it from the top of that rainbow that's holding it tight. You're releasing it. So you can do as many of these as you feel is necessary to get the curve you want. The more scoring you do, the smoother your curve will be. Okay, so the more I do, the smoother my curve will be. Now, remember, the top of the rainbow might become the inside of your project, and that's fine. It doesn't matter if the scoring ends up on the outside, like here, or in this area, it's going to end up on the inside. It doesn't matter where the scoring ends up. What matters is that it will bend with the scoring on the top of the rainbow. Okay? So when you're working on your curved sides, you want to think about how can I score, loosen it first, and then score in a way where that cardboard is going to make a nice smooth curve and look nice and rounded and not like it was made out of cardboard. Okay, we want to make it look like it's really sculpted. So that's a good tip for your curved sides. So your job now is to create the walls around. And I like to get my walls kind of all sort of laid out. And then I'll show you how to start to attach. So you can decide if you're going to attach as you build your walls, or are you going to build all of them, cut all of them, and then attach. It's really up to you.